Okay, let's shake it up a little bit and acknowledge ourselves for being here today. We're not going to wait around for anybody else to do it. We might be waiting a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. I call myself Earl Purdy. That's the one I'm going by this time around. And I'm loving myself more every day. I'm realizing the truth about myself more every day. And I found out that that corresponds with how honest I'm willing to be with myself about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm believing. That seems to be the key. It's like I love myself more when I tell myself loving thoughts. Then the more I tell myself loving thoughts, then the more I find that people in my world say loving thoughts to me. It's almost like the world is a mirror or something. Anybody heard that? It's almost like what we're looking at is always within ourselves. And so I want you to take a breath and realize that you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it. Nothing I say that you have to welcome. But if you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas in A Course in Miracles works. A Course in Miracles is a course in correct perception. It says that a miracle is a correct perception, which means that if we have a correct perception, it's a miracle. And so that's why it's called A Course in Miracles. If we see things correctly, it's a miracle. If we listen to the right answers, it's a miracle. And it really is a miracle, because most people are addicted to their point of view, and then they try to fit everything into it. And then a person that's awakening is realizing that the more points of view they can be open to while maintaining their own sense of integrity, the faster and the easier things go. So today I'm going to do a section that I like to review from time to time because you can't hear it too much. And it's a section called the Development of Trust. The Development of Trust is in the teacher's manual and is on page 10 in the teacher's manual. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover about 10 minutes of material where I lecture and teach. Then I'm going to throw it open for about 5 minutes or so of discussion and questions and comments. And then I'm going to go back into the material. I found that way we cover more material and we push further in material, because I really want to hear what Spirit has to say to me today. How about you? Yeah, that's why you're here, right? That's why you're here, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure you know why you're here. Some of you might be here because somebody drug you here, but other than that, most of you here because you're ready to hear what has to be said. Okay, so if you're going to develop trust in yourself, if you're going to develop trust in Spirit, the first thing that paragraph says is you must go through what might be called a period of undoing. So you can apply this in developing trust in your relationship with the Creator, or you can apply this to developing trust in any situation. One thing that's good about the truth is that the truth applies to any situation. But the Course in Miracles is primarily talking about your relationship with Source, your relationship with that which created you, your relationship with the universe, your relationship with the infinite intelligence behind everything that we're experiencing. And so the first thing that you're going to go through is a period of undoing. So if you say, I'm ready to love, I'm ready to trust, I'm ready to have a happier life, I'm ready to take it to another level, it says that you're going to go through a period of undoing. Now, the period of undoing does not have to be painful, but that's the way it's usually experienced. The period of undoing doesn't have to be painful, but it's usually experienced as painful because it looks like things are being taken away. It looks like things are being taken away. When you first say, I want to develop this trust in what's real and what's true, well, it says it seems as if things are being taken away because it's rarely understood initially that things aren't really being taken away. What's really happening is their lack of value is merely being recognized. So when you no longer value something, it leaves. When you don't appreciate something, it leaves. When you don't value something, that's the same as not holding it in your consciousness or your mind anymore, so it leaves. So what does that tell me? If I'm not appreciating things and people in my life, I shouldn't be surprised when they leave, when it leaves, when it disappears. And what I found in my own personal experience is that I have a tendency to take people and things for granted very easily. So if someone's showing me a lot of love, or they're doing something very valuable and they do it continually and they do it consistently and you can always think it's going to be there, you kind of take it for granted. And when you start taking things for granted, you're on the way to that thing leaving. So I make it a point in my personal life with all my friends and with my relatives and everybody in my life, as much as I possibly can, I'm saying, thank you, I appreciate you, thank you, I appreciate you. Boy, you're really great, you're awesome, I love you, I appreciate you, thank you. Because I've learned the hard way, which is the way you tend to learn at first, that when you don't appreciate, then it is going to leave your life. So you might want to keep that in mind, that if you find yourself knowing you have friends and relatives and situations and things in your life right now that you know you're thankful for, but you have not said thank you, I appreciate you in a long time, almost to the point that you just think is you're right to have them treat you that way, and it is, but you still want to let people know, I appreciate you. So when you say you're going to develop trust, it says that the first thing that's going to happen is that you are not going to see things in terms of what is the lack of value, it says, unless the perceiver is in a position where the perceiver must see things in a different light. So in most cases, people are not at the point yet in which they can make the shift internally entirely. Let me explain what I'm saying. You can hear that, I can tell you that you're responsible for what you feel, that you're choosing the feelings that you experience, that you're giving everything in your experience all the meaning it has for you, and everything that's happening to you is coming from your own consciousness, is coming from your own thoughts, which means you could have an unlimited level of happiness and joy and peace because everything is coming from your own mind because you are a creator. But you have to start loving yourself, stop attacking yourself, stop judging yourself, stop criticizing yourself, because it's only when you stop doing those things that you allow that love and that abundance and prosperity and joy that you want to come into your experience to come into your experience. So that means that when you want to cuss somebody out, you take a breath and you don't do it and you ask Spirit, what would be another way to look at this? That would be one example. When you're ready to blame somebody else for something you think is going wrong, remember, oh, I'm the one that's determining the way I see this. I need to look at this another way. But the Course says that actually a person usually is not at the point where they can make the shift entirely internally. In other words, I could tell you these things all night and you may not change yourself on the inside to do any of them, right? So then he says, well, what happens is, if you do that, the divine plan, and there is a divine plan, you weren't just dropped in this experience to kind of come up with your own ideas about what's true and what's real and what you want, and then think the whole world is going to conform to that fantasy that you made, which is what we kind of think life is about. I make up what I think is going to make me happy, and then I assign everybody roles to fill to help me be happy, and then I hold a grievance against them if they don't do it, and then I say that they're not supporting me, and I go to therapy. To talk about how selfish they are because they didn't change their whole life to make sure that they acted out my script and did what I wanted them to do in my fantasy, so they're not supportive.
That's right.
Everybody familiar with that? So the Course is saying if that's the case, then the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be the external circumstances. So if you won't make a change on the inside, the plan is going to be some things going to happen on the outside that's going to get you to change. Got it? Everybody clear about that? Anybody unclear about that statement I just said? If you won't make the internal shifts that allow you to have peace and to grow and to have love, then the divine plan is going to call for you to have some external things that's going to get you to say, I need to change my mind, I need to take a new direction, I need to go a different way. I call it God banging on your hood. Right? First you get the spiritual inclination, you need to do it differently. Then you get the mental inclination, you ought to be doing it differently. Then you start feeling like you need to be doing it differently, but you haven't done anything differently, right? And see, now all of a sudden you have a physical circumstance happens that you call a crisis of some type that forces you to get off your butt and then start to do something about it. So I'm personally trying to get to the point, I don't get it, to the point that God is banging on my hood, as I call it. So the plan will call for external changes. So if your life right now is full of external changes, and God is not only banging on your hood, God is clanging on your hood, God is stomping on your hood, then you need to say one thing to get past it really, really quick and to move toward the peace that you want. And that thing is what? These changes are always helpful. These changes are always helpful. This change I'm going through in my relationship, man, it's helpful. This change I'm going through in my financial situation, man, it's helpful. This change that I'm going through on my job, man, it's helpful. This change I'm going through with my body, man, this is helpful. This change that I'm going through spiritually, man, it's helpful. Every change that's happening in my life is
helpful.
Everything that's happening is
helpful.
The changes my mama put me through are
helpful.
The changes my daddy put me through are
helpful.
The changes my partner puts me through are
helpful.
The changes my boss puts me through are
helpful.
And here's the big one, the change I put me through. It's helpful. Because that's the one who's mainly putting you through the freaking change. It's really you. So these changes are always helpful. And when the teacher of God, which the Course defines as the teacher of love, has learned that much, what much? That these changes are always helpful. Then you go to the next stage. And so until I get to the point that no matter what's happening, like I had a flat tire for the first time since I had my car, years and years. Now, one thing I've noticed about when I was guiltier, when I used to have flat tires, they would be in the worst place you could have a flat tire, and the spare didn't work, and I didn't know how I was going to make it. You know what I'm saying? It's like now, as I've learned to love myself more and believe that I didn't create myself and turn to something greater than myself, it didn't happen until I pulled up right in front of the house I was supposed to be in. Happened to notice when I came in that the flat the air was leaking out of the tire, and I had a choice to either be treated to an incredible dinner or deal with it right then. Then I was instantly told, well, if you can't get it fixed tonight, I got a car you can use tomorrow, you can get to your class and don't worry about it, so let me treat you to a wonderful dinner. Now that's the best way to tough flats out.
Yeah.
I think when you start toughing flats out that way, that's how you kind of know what's happening. Then I called AAA, and then they came, and because I thought I was going to fix it, and I had to get stuff out of my trunk in order to fix it. What's the most challenging thing that I've ever experienced in my life, because there was an unbelievable amount of stuff in my trunk. I found CD players, cameras. I found stuff that in my high school graduation picture, I mean, everything that I could possibly imagine was in the trunk of my car. And it's one of those things like it's almost like a science fiction movie where have you ever seen these old cartoons where sometimes, you might never remember Popeye, but when I was a kid, there was a cartoon character called Popeye. And sometimes, he would look in a tent, and there'd be a little tent, and when you look inside the tent, it looked like Taj Mahal, and then he would look out. That's where my trunk was. And so much stuff in my back seat that there's no way in the world I could ever figure out how that got in the trunk of my car. So that was a metaphysical dilemma right there that I had to deal with. But so I called AAA, they were there within 30 minutes, and then they fixed the tire. And it was just funny. It's like, but what I noticed about the whole thing was, from the time I looked at the car and saw that the flat was happening, which was great, it happened when it happened, because I was kind of far out, so I could have been like in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have an emotional reaction like I would have had. I remember a time I was going, damn! Fix that tire. Anybody recognize that?
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing I would have done is I would have attacked myself. See, that's what the Course in Miracles taught me. Brother, you just attacking yourself. The tire certainly doesn't feel it. Matter of fact, the tire kind of sniggling. So it's like you've been rolling on it for years. It's glad to get back at your butt. But the point that I made, that I noticed that I don't have the emotional reactions to things that I used to have at another time. And that's what begins to happen as you change your mind, is you find that you stop reacting to things. I'm not saying I don't react to things, but I don't react to things the way I used to, as fast as I used to, in the way that I used to. So I'm proud of any progress I make, and I'm making a lot of progress. And I notice as I stop attacking myself, about one of my favorite lines in the Course is, there is no point in getting angry at a fact. And I said, oh, that's deep. Yeah, it's a fact. Your car has a flat tire. That's just a fact. Now, the story you tell yourself about the flat tire is going to determine how you feel. Because everything in the world is neutral, including the flat tire. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just a flat tire. And then you give it all the meaning it has for you, and you either say, or you go, yeah, let's go to dinner.
Yeah.
Flat tire was still there. That's true in every single area of our life. There is never anything but neutral events happening. And then we give the event the meaning that it has, and then we give ourselves the feeling, and then sometimes we turn around and say, you made me mad. You upset me, and if you changed, I'd be happy. So I'm going to keep saying that. Nobody's ever making you mad. Ever. Nobody's ever upsetting you, ever. It's you upsetting yourself about what you're seeing by giving a meaning to it that freaks you out. And then that's where the pain is coming from. For real. So what should I say about the flat tire? I went, these changes are always helpful, right? Because I happened to notice it, and then I was in the house, and then this big rainstorm came out of nowhere. There was a trip that I could have been out in the middle of that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like going, thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm eating sushi, watching the storm. Fixing my car tomorrow. The guy came and shook hands. He was a good old guy. He came and changed it in 2 seconds, and it was over with. The only part that my guilt got me was all this stuff in the trunk. But that was what I had to experience in order to accept the blessing, because I realized that if you don't love yourself enough, you just can't have clear-cut grace show up. You've got to always have some little thing you do to make you feel like you earned it. Because we don't love ourselves. Not we. I can't speak for you, but many people don't love themselves enough to let God's grace work in their life, where the universe just gifts them with everything they need. Because we've learned you got to work hard for everything before you can have it. So that's your belief. Your belief creates your reality. The next thing you know, you're working real hard and complaining, but you don't know you're the one that sentence yourself to the job that you want to throw the alarm clock across the room when it goes off in the morning. Nobody's standing over you with a whip saying you got to go to that job. It's your fear that's keeping you on that job. It's your fear that's keeping you on that job. Your belief that you couldn't make it without it. Your belief that you're alone. Your belief that you're autonomous. Not willing to follow your own heart. Not trusting your own direction. Believing you got to do it the way society says you have to do it. There's no school I could go to be a professional Course in Miracles astrologer, numerologist. I decided I wanted to do that. But then I had to get in touch with how the laws of God work so that I would allow myself to be provided for and to receive while I was doing what I love. But it took guts to do that. Nobody else around me is doing it. So I had to believe in myself and that I wasn't alone enough to do it. Many people won't do that. They say they want it differently, but they don't really want to trust yet. And so this is about developing trust. So if you say you're going to develop trust, you got to start saying, every change that's happening in my life right now is helpful. And when you learn that much, you go to the next stage. So I'm going to just say this for just a minute. These changes are always helpful, okay? These changes are always helpful. I just said changes. Changes are always helpful. Do you hear now? Changes are always helpful. You mean I lost my job, but changes are always helpful. My mate walked out of the door, but changes are always helpful. Woo! I'm gonna tell myself changes are always helpful. Rhythm helps it get into your body. You can't just make it an intellectual thing. We want to make the truth an intellectual thing. It's got to be a physical body thing. It's got to be a soulful, juicy thing. You got to let yourself feel it, feel it, feel it. I say changes are always helpful. What'd you say? Changes are always helpful. Ooh, the ones I don't like. Changes are always helpful. Every move I've ever made, changes are always helpful. I thought it was going to be picked up at 8 o'clock. But they came in at 9 o'clock, and I was mad. I don't know that if we had left at 8 o'clock, we would have been going through that intersection the same time that truck out of control went through that intersection, smashed us up and had us all in the hospital. But I was mad because we didn't leave at 8 o'clock, and it really saved my butt. But I didn't know it because changes are always helpful. You don't always know it, but changes are always helpful. Yes, changes are always. So what's happening in your life, whatever's happening, changes are always. Even the thing you're mad about, depressed about, changes are always helpful. Let it in your soul now, changes are always helpful. Yeah, Acknowledge yourself. Acknowledge yourself. That's right. That's right. I'm your black self. Introduce me to your folks this evening. This is my black self. I'm supposed to come on home together tonight. Any questions, comments about what I've said so far? Discussion, comment. Boo.
Very helpful.
When you decided to break free from the normal way of what everybody's looking at and become a Course in Miracles teacher, how did you do that? Did you just say, I quit my job, I'm a Course in Miracles?
Yes. No. What happened was, I was inspired. What happened was, when I discovered it, I was 30 years old, still wondering what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I had done theater, I had done music, I had been a professional musician, I had traveled around the country, I had been a manager, I had worked for corporate America, I had done all of that, and I was still going, what do I want to be when I grow up? Because nothing that I had done was really satisfying me, and I was doing well in those other things that I was doing because I was applying metaphysical principles to my everyday life, including my job. So all of it was becoming easier than I could have possibly imagined because I was practicing the truth as best I can. But when somebody introduced me to the Course in Miracles, it had the weirdest thing. The first thing was a lot of resistance. I said, what the hell was I reading? I had a lot of resistance to the Christian terminology, couldn't even thought it was English, but I couldn't understand what the hell I just read. You know, and so I was having the typical Course experience. 3 years later, I was invited to a Course in Miracles study group. When I walked in, I was obviously ready because I couldn't put it down after I started reading it, and 1 month later, I had finished the textbook and it said, you teach best what you need to learn, so I started doing a Course in Miracles class in my house, and it outgrew my house, and then I started doing it at a Unity church. And then that got to the point that it's like I knew that's all I really wanted to do was be a messenger of love and a messenger of God. And so I went around to bookstores and said, can I do classes here? Added up the amount of income that I thought I needed with 2 kids in junior high school at that time. And it said I'm sustained by the love of God. So I worked every day on that idea that it wasn't going to be me that made this happen. It was going to be my relationship to my Creator that made this happen. And I need to do everything in my power to get rid of the old beliefs that would make me think that I couldn't do it and that I didn't have universal support to do it. So I went into a real deep period of intense study and spiritual practice to change my mind enough to have the least amount of fear that would allow me to do it. And then I put my shingle out and I trusted and I went for it. And from the day that I started to do that, the first month that I did it, I was able to, through love offerings, be given what I needed through the Course, through the Holy Spirit, through the people in experience to take care of my needs. And that's 27 years ago that I started doing it full time. So if I can make it doing something as strange as I do it, never knowing every week who's going to be here, who's not going to be here, and then what's going to come through them from God to me, when I hear people say that they want to be much more traditional things that the world does accept and backs up, I don't understand why they don't feel like they can do it. Because I feel like I'm in a very extreme teaching example. So if I can do something as weird as this by practicing true principles, you can certainly do it being a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, a painter, an artist, or whatever it is you say you want to do in the world. Because even at that level, the world's not going to look at you and go, oh, that's so weird. I do weird stuff. You know, what I'm doing is weird. So it really showed me that I wasn't alone, but I had to do a lot of spiritual practice. And if I could say one thing after many years of teaching that most people, a lot of people do, is that they want to change, but it's just like he's saying, they don't want to make the internal shift. They want to get in touch with their own discipline enough to actually do some spiritual practice that changes their mind, that allows things to go better. They'd rather work 40 hours a week doing something they don't like than to spend 1 hour focusing on a chapter of a book that would change their whole life. And it always amazes me to watch that. And we look for immediate change even though we've been programming ourselves for 30, 40, 20 years. I read the lesson twice and my whole life didn't change. The Course in Miracles doesn't work. I half-heartedly said my workbook lesson, forgot about it the rest of the day, and my relationship hasn't transformed. So it's like we want to get the result, but we don't want to really put the attention into it until we reach our limit in some way. And then when we reach our limit, we go, there must be a better way. And then when you really reach your limit, you'll say, I'm really ready to do it differently. I don't give a hoot what it takes. I've had enough. I'm not going. Like when I hear people say they threw the relationship, but they haven't over the furniture, then they haven't reached their limit yet. You know, when if it's time for you to go and you're ready to go and you know you're ready to go and you've done as much as you can do in that relationship or anything, the last thing you're worried about is who gets the flat screen TV. You know, you ready to get it. You want it all, you can have it all. Here you go. Because that gives us less reason to be in conflict, because the one thing I can do in this world is attract stuff. My trunk of my car. I just need to park my car somewhere. I probably go out there this evening and it'll be a whole living room suit in there. You know, I got a magic trunk. And one thing I like is junk in the trunk. Oh, it's black thing. So anyway. Any other questions? Was that helpful? First, you got to be inspired. I'm gonna go back to inspired. If someone tells me they want something, and I don't hear no juice. Like you asked about it, what do you really want? They say, I want to be this. Oh no, you don't. You don't have no juice behind what you say. I'm ready for a relationship. No, you're not. You know, hey, I'm ready for a relationship. I've worked on myself since that last relationship, and I've taken a look at what I did to create what happened in that relationship, and the part that I played in that relationship, and how I created that for myself in my relationship, and how I can do it differently the next time, and I'm ready. And notice when I didn't say anything about them. Did y'all notice I didn't say them? There was not one them in there. What she didn't or he didn't do, or what he should have changed. That's how you can tell when you're ready. You're going I, not them, they, you. So when you wake up, you're not using a whole lot of yous anymore. You're using a lot of I's. You upset me. You need to treat me differently. You. When you're doing the you, then you can forget it. You're going to keep that pattern going. Nothing's going to really change. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And the person that wants you to suffer is glad to see you do it. But they know you're going to drive yourself crazy. They just sit there and watch. Because they know that you don't work. You never works. Ever works. So if you ever have a problem with anything in your life, I'm going to give you a very powerful statement to say. First of all, the very first thing to say is to tell yourself the next time you're upset about anything, right? You ready? And then go deal with it. Say, it's all about me. It's about me. Whatever's going on right now in my life, it's about me. If this relationship isn't working, it's about me. If my financial situation is pathetic, it's about me. Then move forward. But start out with the truth. Tell yourself the truth first. It's about you. You are the center of everything that's ever happened. You're the common denominator in everything that's ever happened in your life. You've been there. So it might have something to do with you, but I don't want to use the word you, I'm going to use the word me. So, anybody else? I saw a hand over here, brother. You still got a question?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, anybody else? Yes.
It sounds like the way we take action, like the words we tell ourselves is like a big part of that.
It's everything.
That's everything? Because I was going to ask, is there something else? But you think starting with like the language and the words?
It's the words. You're absolutely right. I tell people that my classes are based on one premise. I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me, which is lesson 2. There are 365 lessons in the Course in Miracles that you do one a day for a year to do the whole course. And that, out of all the lessons, is the one that I think is the most powerful for me. Is I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. And I try to work that into every class I do. Because you can't remember that too much. Because once you go unconscious, then you'll be blaming. Now, how can you tell when you're blaming? Easy. You don't feel peace. So you tell me where you're not feeling peace, and I'll tell you where you're saying you, them, they, it. So your feelings keep you from fooling yourself about what's going on. You can tell yourself anything, but you know whether or not you're really feeling complete peace right now. And if you're not, it's something you're telling yourself right now, not the past, not the future. But if you're unhappy, there's a present cause for your unhappiness. There is never a past cause for unhappiness. You can't say I'm unhappy because I was born black in the South with a father that had a drinking problem. I can't run that down now and say that's why I'm not happy today. If I'm not happy today, it's because of what I'm not. It's because of what I'm telling or not telling myself today. That's why I'm unhappy today. My father isn't even around, so how can I possibly be blaming him for what I'm going through? Unless it's a payoff, and the payoff is the punishment that I give myself by that lousy feeling that I have. So I'm really hating me, punishing me, blaming Dad. So Dad, wherever you are, I want you to know that I forgive you for what you never did. You didn't do anything to me at all. Period. You were doing the best you could based on your level of consciousness and what you had learned and who you thought you were. You were brought up in the same thing like me, in a world where we weren't being taught the truth, and maybe your parents didn't wake you up every day with, you're an angel of the universe and an unlimited being who's totally and completely guiltless when you were a child. Maybe you didn't hear that. So I know that maybe you had issues too. Because I know all of you did. So your parents learned a bunch of crappy stuff too. So why do you expect them to be perfect? They're just people. It took me a long time to deal with. I remember the first time I saw my mother take a sip of beer, I almost fainted. Because my mother was like Mother Teresa on steroids. Like the nicest, sweetest little, and then my daddy was an outlaw. He was a gangster, he was a trip, you know what I'm saying? I heard stories about him that was a trip. And I realized that I reproduced that in my own relationships, where it looked like I was the outlaw with the conservative woman. you know, you really do kind of reproduce these patterns that you see with your parents when you grow up. And my wife, back when I was married and she was getting her karma, my wife was, she was the same astrological combination as my mama. When I got into astrology and looked at the chart, she was literally the same I married my mama. Yeah, and fortunately I really love my mama, so I was pretty cool. You know, because if you have a good relationship with females, then you kind of like project it onto any female that you meet. You know, so I've always been in love. I had 4 sisters and a mom that raised me, and they really, really loved me. So I always had a lot of respect for women. And sometimes that meant that I, you know, didn't get a whole lot. Anyway, so, but that's another story, and I'm not hanging on to the past.
Oh, come on, Earl, you made up for it. We know that.
Hey. What do you mean? You can't transcend anything until you've had it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just give yourself what you want, because the quicker you get it and realize it won't make you happy, you'll be ready to go to the real deals that will make you happy. But as long as you think something will make you happy that you haven't achieved yet, you won't go to what will really make you happy, because you think you really have to have the money to be happy, you have to have the job to be happy, you have to have a relationship. You know, so I always encourage people to go ahead and give themselves whatever it is that they think they need or want, so that when they get it, and they still see that it doesn't make you happy because nothing outside of yourself can, because happiness comes from the meaning you're giving to everything, then you start moving toward real happiness, and you'll understand you could be happy every day regardless of what you have. Cut out the middleman and you could have a good time today. But if I say I gotta have a Rolls Royce before I can be happy, then I gotta work on trying to get the Rolls Royce, right? And then that's a lot of work. But if I realize it's the meaning that I'm giving to everything just making me happy or unhappy, then I can start thinking the thoughts that would make me happy, and I could feel like I would feel if I had the Rolls Royce without the bill. You know, you think that $900,000 house is going to do it? Then you think you got to figure out a way to get the job to get you the $900,000 house so you can feel good, and then you get the $900,000 house, and unless you are able to see it correctly, you won't let yourself be happy with it. So I'm not saying don't give yourself luxurious things. Don't get me wrong. I do not advocate poverty as a spiritual path. Okay, you can't give people what you don't have, and if you broke as hell, you certainly can't give nothing and share nothing with nobody else. So the whole idea of you not having nothing is going to somehow benefit everybody is a stupid way to look at it. But be clear that you're not going to enjoy the $900,000 house unless you have a meaning that you give to it that allows you to enjoy it. We're right back to the meaning again, right? So let's go to the next paragraph then, okay? It's amazing how fast this time passes to me. I don't know how it passes to you, but it seems like it passes really fast to me. The older you get, the faster time passes. They used to say that stuff. That's the truth. I'm a living witness to that one. It's hard for me to believe it's August. It's like it was just a minute ago I was saying Happy New Year. Now it's August. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's moving. You know why? Because you're enjoying your life more. If you enjoy yourself more, time moves faster. Right? You notice that. If you're having a good time, time passes by like that. So when you get on the spiritual path, time will speed up, because you should start to enjoy yourself more. So that's why you have to start to believe in eternal life. Because your life is going to be over in a second if you're having a good time. So you need to know you're going to stick around beyond your body. If you're miserable, it looks like an eternity. You ever been on a job you hated? And it's like you've been working for about 9 hours, and you look up in 5 minutes and you're going, oh, hell. You know. But then you party, you have a good time, some good loving coming down, some joy coming down, and like, boy, that party was over like that. That's what joy is. Joy transcends time. You want to go into the timeless, be joyful, be happy. You'll go into a state of no time. It also will youth you. You won't look as old as you are. I'm 104. I look good for 104. You know, black don't crack. Okay. The next thing you're going to go through is going to be a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult, because having learned that the changes in your life are always helpful, you must now decide all things on the basis of whether all things in your life increase the helpfulness or hamper the helpfulness. And what you're going to find out is Many, if not most of the things you valued before will merely hinder your ability to transfer what you've learned to new situations as they arise. In other words, because you have valued what is really valueless, you will not generalize the lesson for loss of fear and sacrifice. Here's a good example of that. I have learned that everyone is free, and I should free everyone in my experience because everyone is free. So therefore I should have the attitude of freedom with everybody in this room, right? I should be willing for everybody in this room to be free. But my partner, my mate, my lover, everybody can be free with them. Now notice that I'm willing to apply the truth to everyone but them. Why? Because that's where I feel like I would experience what? Loss and sacrifice. And so that's what he's saying, that you're going to find that most of the things that you value keep you from practicing the truth consistently because you think you're going to lose something if you do it. If the truth says giving is how you have it, and you think that means giving away something you value, then you're going to think, I'm not going to want to give that away. So it looks like you're going to lose if you apply the spiritual truth. So there's going to be attachments that we have to certain thoughts, feelings, emotions, and things that'll make us want to apply the truth in some situations and with some people, but not with others. Like, I don't care what interview you all did last night. I don't care who you did it with. I don't care what y'all did, right? But then the people I'm in a special relationship with, what did you do? Who did you do it with? How long did it happen? What did y'all talk about? Or what were you at 6 o'clock? See, I'm not applying the truth that they're free and innocent because I think I will lose. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to give away this computer that I'm tired of, so I give it away and I go, oh, that's this wonderful thing. But if you say give away my new, MacBook, then I don't want to do it. You see what I mean? I only want to apply the truth in certain areas that giving something is how you have it. Now, the course isn't talking about give your stuff away. The course is talking about giving ideas of love and truth and support away. It's never talking about physical things. It's talking about mental and the spiritual things. When it says give, it's saying, these thoughts I'm giving you, am I not receiving them? Of course I am, because they got to come through me before they go to you. So I'm hearing everything I'm saying. So I'm receiving at the same time I'm giving. It's not I receive right now and I give right now and I receive tomorrow. I'm giving this to you right now and I'm hearing it right now. So I'm receiving at the same time I'm giving it. So whenever you read any truth book or other course and you feel resistance because you think it's asking you to do something that you don't want to do, always remember that means you have misunderstood the passage you were reading. Now I'll say it again. If you study the course, you guys is actually doing it, and you come across something and you freak out, go, I am misperceiving what this book is saying right now, and I'm going to go ahead and read off. I'm not going to stay here until I think I understand it. I'm going to go right now. I'm misperceiving this paragraph. I'm going to go to the next one because he's going to say it another way. It'll be the same thing. He's just going to say it another way. Are you with me, those of you studying? Mm-hmm. The next time you read something in the course that you're freaking out, what you're going to do? You're going to keep going. Why? It means I'm somehow misinterpreting because the purpose of this book is not to frighten me. It's to give me inner peace. So if I'm feeling anything other than inner peace, it's the conversation, the meaning that I'm giving to it that's creating that. And if you're suffering and you believe you deserve to suffer, what's going to happen is you will always go unconscious when someone's giving you the solution to get out of the situation. So pay particular attention to the things that you go most unconscious about and the things you have the most resistance to, because those are the things that are most true about you. You're selfish son of a gun. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. How do you know? Because if you weren't, you wouldn't have gone, no, I'm not. Because it wouldn't mean anything. It's like somebody coming here telling me, you're a kangaroo. And I go, no, I'm not. I'm not a kangaroo. I'll just do like, you know what I'm saying? If you know it's not true, you wouldn't even really like, get upset about it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But if you're going, do you believe in hell? No, I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in sin either. You got some issues. Some spiritual religious issues you need to deal with. The course says what you revolt against, you believe. What you revolt against, you believe. Okay? Then it goes on to say, it takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It takes great learning to understand that all things that are happening to you, all events that are happening to you, all encounters that are happening to you, all circumstances 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 that are happening to you are helpful. What? All of them? All of them. You mean to say when I got hit by a car on Christmas Day when I was 10 years old, and the guy got out the car and laughed and drove off, that was helpful? Yes, that was helpful. Do I have to understand that? No. Do I have to agree with that? No. Do I have to always see whether that's true? No. It's just a fact. It's not anything you've ever gone through that didn't go to help make you the person that you are today, that you're loving more than you ever have before. Everything that happened to you was helpful. I mean, helping my dad in when he couldn't walk because he had drunk too much, that was helpful. Yeah, that was helpful. Yeah, it helped you become more compassionate at some level, you know. So yes, even the stuff you don't like is helpful. Wow, that's deep, isn't it? So it's only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else. So what's valuable, what's helpful to help me achieve my goal? What's not valuable, what's not helpful to help me achieve my goal? If I have a goal of seeing myself as innocent and a person who's valuable, and I'm in a relationship with someone who's always judging me, criticizing me, condemning me, telling me I'm guilty, is that relationship helpful? No. If I'm trying to come to the Course in Miracles class, and the person said, well, let's go walk in the park for a few minutes, but I really want to come to the class, is that suggestion helpful? No. Because if you have a goal, you can evaluate what's helpful and not by what your goal is. That's why if a person doesn't have any goals, they never know what to do. They're like a leaf in the wind. They can be pulled in any direction because they don't know what to say yes to and what to say no to because they have no idea what should be happening anyway. So if you're a person with no goals, no vision, nothing, you're just kind of hoping something that show up, you're going to be like a leaf in the wind, and you're going to find yourself in situations that you called impossible, and you say stuff like, how did I end up in this situation? It's because you didn't know what you wanted. You had no idea what you wanted. And so you just need to get back to what do I want instead of getting mad at the situation. What do I want? What do I really want in my relationships? What do I really want right now? And then people go, well, I don't know what I really want. I don't have any idea about what I really want. Yes, you do. You want peace. You want happiness. You want joy. You want to know your abundance. You want right relationship. You want freedom. You want inspiration. You want fulfillment. Ask for the content. If you don't know the form, ask for the content. And the content will actually create the form that will come to you that you can have it in. So don't just go, I don't know what I want. You do know what you want. You want to be happy. You want to be loved. You want peace. So most people think form. I don't know if I want to be a doctor, teacher, lawyer, doctor in the world. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what do you want the content of your experience to be? What do you want do you want love coming to you through that body, or do you want judgment coming to you through that body? What's the content that you want in your life? And form follows function. So if the function is your peace, then it will come to you in the best form for you. Which I love that setup. You know, I know that the universe knows who's the perfect person for me. I know the universe knows what's the perfect job for me. I know the universe knows all of those things because it's infinitely intelligent. I just need to get my friggin' self out of the way long enough to let the good that wants to come to me do its thing. It's already ready to do its thing. I'm the one that's interfering through my fantasies, even when I don't really know what I want. It's deep, isn't it? It's not as complicated as we try to make it, y'all. It all boils down to this. Do you think you are worth it? That's what it all boils down to, is self-worth. That's what everything boils down to. Do I love me or don't I? And this isn't new. I know you've heard it before, but the purpose of this class is to continually remind you of that so that you will accept it more, and the more you accept it, the more you manifest it. So when you start to wake up spiritually, it's not all about getting new information anymore. It's about remembering the truth that you've already heard and start to apply it in your day-to-day life. It's not the latest book. It's not the latest movie. It's Am I going to remember I'm giving everything I say all the meaning it has for me? Am I going to remember that I'm innocent? Am I going to remember I'm a spiritual being having a human experience? Am I going to remember that I'm really free? See, am I going to remember it? And so this class is about remembering. It's about, oh, I know if I go to Earl's class, I'll hear something positive about myself and helpful about myself that'll help me make it through the rest of this week when I'm listening to the part of my mind that's not telling me so much cool stuff. Right? It's you loving yourself enough to make sure you put yourself in the presence of a person who sees you as a priceless part of God's kingdom and an unlimited level of love in front of my face. And so that pretty much guarantees I won't see you that much. Because if you don't believe it, you won't be attracted. Oh, you might have something else to do with that innocent too. But guess what? No matter where you go, love is going to find you. You can run, but you can't hide. Love is going to find your butt. Because you wanted to. You asked for it. You said, I want to be loved. Then everything that's not love is going to come up so that you can have real love. And if you detoxing spiritually right now, if you having a spiritual detox, you've been giving yourself a lot of truth, reading, studying, trying to change your mind about yourself, then right now your life may be in chaos. Kicking your ass. Because you are detoxing spiritually. All that junk in you, all those thoughts, all those feelings, all those emotions, everything that you need to let go of is up to be released. And be happy about it. Give yourself more truth, not less. All right? So what's valuable? What's helpful? What's not valuable? What's not helpful? What is valuable? What's helping me achieve my goal? What's not valuable? What's not helping me achieve my goal? What is the truth about any circumstance in my life right now? Every circumstance in my life is helpful. This is helpful. What I'm going to do later on is helpful. And when you learn that much, then you go to the next stage of happiness. So if you walked out of here today with 2 thoughts, that's all. These changes are always helpful, and nothing is valuable in my life except what's helping me meet my goals. What's helping me meet my goal is valuable. What's not helping me meet my goal is not valuable. Did you notice I didn't say guilty and innocent? I didn't say bad or good. I said helpful or not helpful. I didn't say good. I didn't say bad. You got to let go of good and bad. Good and bad's got to go. There's no good and bad. There's what's helpful and what's not helpful. Because good and bad implies punishment, which implies guilt, and all pain comes from guilt. All hurt comes from guilt. All lack comes from guilt. All attack comes from guilt. So if your life is full of any of those things, you think you're guilty at an unconscious level that you don't even realize that someone needs to make you aware of so that they can remind you that you're innocent, you deserve to be loved, and in that recognition, you'll stop punishing yourself so much and you can start to see your experience change. Then you have the greatest temptation of all. When things start to go your way, that'll be your biggest temptation to get back in the driver's seat again. Don't focus on the truth as much as you used to, because now it looks like you're back in control and things are going the way you want them to go. So actually, the temptation to get off the spiritual path is strongest when you're getting what you want, not when you're not getting what you want. I see more people drop off their spiritual path because they were devastated, they wanted a relationship, and they were trying to change their mind. They got the relationship, and now the relationship is everything, and they're no longer doing their spiritual practice because they got to get down tonight. You know what I'm saying? They got to go somewhere. They got to play with each other. So all of a sudden, they get lost in the effect and forget the cause. It's like driving a car, never putting any gas in it. Sooner or later, you're going to get stranded somewhere, and you go, what happened? You didn't keep putting the truth juice in the car. And it ran out in your relationship, and it ran out in your job, and it ran out in your life situation because you just used it like a pill, like when you have a headache. I'm suffering. Let me tell you something. Let me go to class. I'm not suffering anymore, so I don't have to take the pill no more. And so now I don't do it anymore. So I'm just telling you, with 30 years of doing this stuff, please save yourself some time. Listen to these little small tips that are coming through me and not from me, so that you will save yourself the pain that most people give themselves even when they're starting to have improvement in their experience. And be juicy and enthusiastic. Nobody likes dead people. Except the necrophiliacs. We ever call the people that get off on dead bodies. I realize we've been there all our lives. You can find out we're all that way. Because most of us are hanging out with dead bodies. People who have no life. They're draining you, like psychic. Why do you think vampire pictures are so popular right now? Because it's a metaphor of what you do to each other when you don't love each other. You just get, and you drain, and you suck the blood out of somebody, right? And then what kills the vampire? Sunlight. Ah! Which is the truth, which is the light. They can't live in the light. They only live in darkness. And how long they live? Forever. Until you what? Make the sign of the cross. You know what I'm saying? Think about the meanings behind that kind of stuff. It's a message of that stuff. So if you become a light being, you're going to start drawing people to you like moths to a flame. And you have to ask yourself, are they coming to share, or are they coming to get? And you'll find a lot of them will be coming to get. They won't be coming to give. They'll be coming to get, because you're this bright light, and they're drawn to you. And your ego will be tempted to take over then. Oh my God, I'm becoming so popular. People really noticing me now. Everybody on my phone number. Oh my God. Ego's going amok. You know what I'm saying? It's like instead of realizing they're sucking your blood. Are they giving, or are they coming to get? And I'm coming to give. Most of the time. Right? Because I'm in process too. I haven't perfected any of this either. But I'm so proud of myself, because if my thoughts create my reality, and I'm looking at something that's beautiful and gorgeous and fine and awesome as you in front of me, I'm doing pretty damn good. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? I'm doing all right. Are you doing all right? You're doing a lot better than you know, right? All right. We're going to do the financial expression of appreciation right now. Thank you for sharing so much as a full-time teacher. Thank you. Those of you on the internet, thank you so much for sharing with me. And if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com. As a matter of fact, and you can share there. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions, where I use the Course in Miracles and all the metaphysical principles I've used, as well as my knowledge of astrology and numerology, for those who are open to a more psychic, intuitive insight. And I do those one-on-one sessions, and go to my website, and it explains them in detail. And I could have one with you. You don't have to keep struggling with whatever it is you've been going through, because there is no such thing as a problem without a solution. But there are people who are not at the point yet that they're ready to use the solution. There's a line in the Course he talks about, it only takes you an instant to receive the answer, but it might take you a lifetime to be ready to use it. And that you can't wait around. he said don't you wait around until the person is ready to use it. So what I want to do the last couple of minutes of my class is Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, we have a kick butt class that's not for the faint of heart, but open to everyone. It's called A Way of Mastery. It's a stone cold, metaphysical, get down, weird thought class. And when I say weird thought, it means you're hearing stuff that was not what you learned. And so therefore, it might work. It might be the truth. And so, but it will challenge your, just like this book does. It'll challenge your belief system in a way you go, whoa! So I want to invite you to come to the Way of Mastery, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. So you can just let yourself close your eyes and just hear this for a couple of minutes before we go out. Or you can join in, you can do whatever you like to do. You never have to participate with anything that I'm doing. People are chanting and you don't feel like it, that's fine. But you're not going to come to a class that's the opposite of what I'm teaching, which is you can do what you want to do. That would be opposite. So you can do what you want to do. All right, here we go. We are going to get all aboard now. It is time to join hands and get on the love train. It is time to get out of fear and get on the love train. Love train we go. Changes are always helpful. The changes in your life are always helpful. I know it can be frightening. I know you can be worried. I know you can be sad, depressed, and wonder what is happening. But every change, I mean every change is helpful. Every change is helpful. So get on board, I tell you right now, get on board, I tell you now. It's time to do, it's time to join, and get on the love train, It's time to get out of that fear, to get out of that separation, to get out of feeling like you're all by yourself. All changes are helpful. Every change is helpful. What you're going through right now is helpful. Does that mean that you shouldn't cry? Does that mean that you should be happy every second? Does that mean that it's not okay for you to feel your feelings about it? No, I want you to feel your feelings all the way through your being. Feel all of your feelings. Don't pretend that you're happy when you're not. It's okay to tell yourself anything you want to tell yourself, but would you mind getting on board? We want you to get on board. Get what you want to receive. If you want love, you got to give it. If you want peace, you got to give it. If you want friendship, you got to give it. If you want people to come to you, you must come to them. If you want people to speak to you, you must speak to them. It is time to let the love of God into your life right now. I'm willing to let the love of God into my life right now. I'm going to invite the love of the Creator in your life right now. You're entitled to miracles, y'all. It's time. Ladies, are you willing to let the love? Are you willing? I said, are you willing? If you willing, say yeah. If you willing, say yeah. If you willing, say yeah. Say hell yeah. Heaven yeah. I'm so willing. I'm so thrilling. Are you thrilled? Are you ready to be healed? Are you gonna let it in? Tell yourself right now, go. I am entitled to miracles. Tell yourself, I am entitled to miracles. Don't be afraid. I am entitled to miracles. I say, I am entitled to miracles. And I have a contact list up here if you want to make sure that you're on it so that you can receive links to these classes, because I send them out to my contact list. Every time I upload a class, they get a link to the class. Please print. I don't read Egyptian hieroglyphics. So please, if you come up here, I'd like to be able to do that. I love you. I appreciate you. And hugs are available. And may the course be with you. Would you acknowledge you, Juice